What up, brothers? It's Friday. Hoorah! This is Mike, your mentor, and today is Man Up Friday. And like every Friday, we take a look at manhood, and we discuss exactly what that means, what that looks like, and how we should approach that in our everyday lives, and what we should aim for. Welcome. If you're new to this page, my name's Mike King, and I'm just a regular dude. I've been through a lot of crazy slash tough things in my life, and now that I'm a bit older and a bit wiser, I look back on my life and I ask myself, what made the difference for me, right? Like, why was I born into such a crazy environment? Why did I go through these tough things? And how did I end up where I'm at today, where I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, hold down a good job, run a good business on the side, have my own family, a loving family, and just be a productive member of society. Not to say that I have it all together and that I'm not learning new things each and every day. But just reflecting back on that and what made the difference in my life was, one, the grace of God, and two, it was having mentors in my life through the books I was reading, and the lives that I was hearing about in those books, and how other people were able to make their lives better and improve themselves, and from the real life examples I had, and all the men on my life, from coaches to fathers of friends, just men who saw something in me and refused to let me be a statistic or end up on the wayside, or I mean, I could even be dead today very easily, have taken that path, but they sowed into my life in various different ways. And the person I am today is a direct reflection of the legacy and the seeds that they planted in my life so long ago, and all along the way of my 38 years here on earth. So the goal of this page is just to pay that forward, to give that back, because wisdom is wisdom. It doesn't matter if you're older than me or younger than me and you're watching this video. There's a lot to be learned, and I'm sharing what I've learned so that other men can avoid the mistakes that I made. And if you've made a mistake and you don't know how to deal with that, hopefully these videos will offer you some wisdom and some guidance on how to turn that around and to step into your true calling as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a leader in your community. Because people are watching you, people are looking up to you, regardless of if you want to recognize it or not. We were called to headship. We were called to leadership. Each one of us as men, we have a destiny and a purpose on our lives to fulfill. And I want to make sure to do my part. And part of that is helping other men realize that and achieve that. So every Friday, we go through a section from The Quest for Authentic Manhood by Robert Lewis. And this was a course that I went through at a very trying time in my life. I was probably that close to being divorced, and to realizing my childhood fear, which was to end up like my father, right? Absent from my family, absent from my wife, wandering through life, trying to find a purpose and meaning. And this course, and the guys that I went through this course were the start of me coming out of that, and me taking ownership for the mistakes that I had made, and humbling myself and doing the things that I was being called upon to do, that every man is called upon to do, to raise up and accept the challenge, right? Because as guys, we want to be challenged. I don't care who you are. You want to find out if you got what it takes, if you can rise to the occasion. And for some reason, every now and then I find myself, fortunately or unfortunately, in these situations where, God is calling me to stand up and to fight and to not back down and to take ownership and responsibility and everything that looks like. So that's a little bit about me. That's a little bit about what we do on Man Up Friday. We're going to jump into this because I want to honor your time. So thank you for joining in. So I'm just going to switch to my screen. All right. Do that. Okay, so this week is titled Looking Back to Move Forward, right? And I think this picture is a good analogy, right, for most guys and for our lives, right? Like, we don't want to look back. We just go through things that life serves up to us, and we deal with those things in the moment, and then we move past them, whether that's by just gritting down and pushing them deep down inside ourselves about how we feel about the situation, or what happened in that situation. We may make up stories that help us cope and help us deal with those things, whether they're based in reality or they're not based in reality. And then one day we find ourselves at a point where we need to make a change. And in order to make a change, we've got to look back down this long tunnel, this deep, dark, long tunnel, to face those things that we've stuffed down for so long. And it can be scary. It can be nerve-wracking. It can be intimidating. I know it was for me. To face these things in my life that I had really never, that I just glanced the surface of, that I never went deep and asked myself serious questions, and for the first time in my life stopped lying to myself about what I dealt with and what I went through and what I faced. So first we're going to do a little recap of what we discussed last week, right in the beginning of this. And we talked about the defining moments in every man's life, and we all have these. And this is part of looking back, is taking stock of these moments in our lives and looking at how they shaped us as men. So the first one is good moments, and I talked about my experiences playing sports, getting married, having kids. The day I accomplished my goal of playing professional sports. I signed a contract to go on tour with the Harlem Globetrotters as part of the Washington Generals, the team that they play every game. I didn't end up going on that for different reasons we'll get into later on in the weeks coming. But that was a goal that I worked at my whole life, and to just know that I was able to accomplish that, and I was good enough to make that happen, was a very profound and defining moment in my life. Felt good. The second moment that we need, or the second moments that we need to look at our lives are noble moments. And for me, one of the most noble moments that I had at a young age was saving my brother from drowning in the pool at my grandparents' house. And I shared that story last week, so all you do is got to go. If you're interested in hearing or seeing any of this, all the videos are on this page. You can go back and see that for yourself, and I'll discuss that more. The next thing that we need to look at is the missed moments in our life, right? And probably one of the biggest missed moments in my life is, not to give away all the details because I'll be talking about this as well, is where I was faced with some serious temptation, and I fell short. And because of that temptation, I not only almost ruined my life, but ruined other people's lives as well. And I was at a point in my life where I needed to make a decision. Am I going to run and choose to continue to be selfish, or am I going to abandon my selfish ways and answer this higher calling that I'm always talking about that we have on our lives, and accept a responsibility that I had previously stepped into, and at that moment had a choice to abdicate. Um, and I had to deal with that for several years. So that's an example of a missed moment and what that looks like. The next thing I had to look back on my life, and we do, is we got to look back and think about those hurt moments. And probably one of the biggest hurt moments for me was when my brother decided he was going to commit suicide. I was a sophomore in college. He was a senior in high school. And I got a phone call one morning from two of my best friends. And finally I was able to get it out of one of them that my brother had died. I still didn't know all the details. And we'll talk about that as well in the upcoming weeks, which I usually share these type of details on Sundays if you're interested in a thing I call Sunday Sermon. But yeah, that was a really hurt moment in my life. Another hurt moment in my life was when my dad, who was absent, or an absentee, he was in and out of my life for my, here and there, all throughout my life, came back into my life when I was, or tried to come back in my life when I was graduating from college, but he had been diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. So he didn't, when I finally saw him, when I was able to meet up with him, he didn't look like anything like what I remembered. And I'm pretty sure it's from my dad's side that I got good genes from, in terms of looking a lot younger than what I actually am, because he always looked way younger than what he actually was, and it was scary and crazy. But he died, and then at his funeral, man, that was hard, because the person who was in the box, my father, didn't really know anything about me, right? He didn't know who I was at my core, what I was scared of, what I enjoyed, what I liked to do with my free time, what I wanted to make out of my life. He didn't know any of that stuff, and it was really hurtful, that he had all these opportunities to take advantage of that, and for whatever reason, he never did. So we got to look back at those hurt moments in our life and deal with those. And then the next thing we got to do is we got to look at those defining moments, right? And one of the biggest defining moments of my life, and I talked about this a little bit, it kind of goes hand to hand for me with the missed moments, is when I had to make a decision. Am I going to do whatever I can to stay married or to contribute to my marriage in a positive way, or am I going to walk away from it and see that thing burn to the ground? I guess I don't know how else to put it, and that was a moment that I had to decide what I was going to do, and another defining moment is when, back to my dad's funeral, right, sitting in the chair, and my entire life up to that moment is running through my head, kind of like in the movies when they say you die and everything flashes before your eyes. That was what was happening to me, and I was seeing all these moments in my life, but in the majority of these moments, my dad wasn't there. So that reel was just playing through my mind, and as I became angry and upset, I had to make a decision, at that point, and I made a kind of a inner vow that I was never going to be like my dad in my life. So those defining moments, we gotta look at those things. So for tonight, I want to talk about some observations that Robert Lewis says we need to, or some observations that he noticed when looking back on his life, and these are applicable to anybody. So I just kind of want to go through these because I think that they're going to provide some clarity, and they're going to help us move forward in the weeks to come, in the stuff that we're going to dive into. So the first observation is, right, my story is not unique. Your story is not unique. And what I mean by that is, as a man, I'm not alone. We've all been hurt. We've all been through crazy things, maybe on different extremes from one person to the next, but we all face the same battles We all have the same, or face the same defining moments, the same noble moments, the opportunities to show courage, the opportunities to resist passivity. No man is alone in that. Nobody, right? We all share those same common burdens. Second one is when a boy fails to connect with his dad, demons of one kind or another often fill that void. Man, I know they did in my life. One of the biggest demons that I had to face was womanizing, right? Like, because when my dad wasn't there and I didn't feel like I was chosen, I didn't feel like I was special, at a very young age, the opposite sex became very appealing to me. And the Bible says, I don't know the exact words off the top of my head, but it talks about a fire that's lit that can't be put out. And man, I lit that fire, and it burned and caused a lot of unnecessary destruction in my life. Other demons are pornography, alcohol, drugs, gambling. All these things that as men they inhibit us from walking in our true purpose, from living out the calling that we have in our lives, from showing up and being authentic and transparent to the ones we love and to the ones that are surrounded with us every day. So the next observation is many men have yet to reckon with their past or close out the unfinished business that still lives there. And man, do I see this almost on a daily basis on the things that I do, with being a participant in different men's groups, and other leadership opportunities that I have, and just being a friend, right, to the brothers that I have in my life and the conversations that we're able to have, right. It's the past, man, is like, I guess it's like this football, right, but it's got all these thorns sticking out of it, and we don't want to touch it, right? We don't want to go near it. We don't want to deal with those things because they hurt. But the truth is, on the other side of dealing with those things, and on the other side of facing that hurt and coming to a giving those things a conclusion, is freedom, right? Those thorns of shame, those thorns of condemnation, those thorns of unworthiness, of insecurity, of not knowing you're not living in your true identity, man, those things they snap off, right? And then they no longer have power and control over us. But so many guys don't want to go there, and I know, and one of the main reasons because you don't have a safe place, right? You don't have somebody in your life that you can trust, that you can come alongside of and say, man, I'm really dealing with this. My marriage is, it's on its last straw and I don't know what to do, but I need help. Can you help me, brother? The biggest thing I can do to encourage you as you walk this journey is to develop a relationship with another man in your life, whether they're older or the same age. It could even be somebody who's younger, where you're able to just be real with them about the things that you got going on in your life and the things that you've been through. If you ever want to talk, that's what I'm here for. You can DM me. A lot of guys do, and we get real about stuff. We do the hard work. There's other opportunities that I know of. There's a ministry that I'm part of called Quest, which you can DM me for more information. But basically, it's 5 days alone in the wilderness with God. And I don't know if you're watching this, maybe you don't believe in God, but the question I would ask you, whether you do or you don't, is if you intentionally seeked after Him with no distractions, what would God say to you? What would He tell you about your life, about what He has for your life, about the things that happened in your past? I went on that in 2016 and it absolutely changed my life. and I've been back almost every opportunity that the Lord's blessed me with to serve and to help other men walk through this journey, and to see that, and to change their lives, to change their marriages, to change their families, to change the legacy they're going to leave in their kids and in another men. So if you're interested in that type of information, DM me. I'm more than happy to share the information for those events, because they are life-changing. The next observation is, until a man unpacks his past and deals with the themes and pain that reside there, he can never be an authentic man. Because let's think about it. I talk about it all the time, right? Like, we're walking around, we're wearing masks, so we're posing. We're not showing up as our true self, because we don't want people to know these deep, maybe dark secrets about us, or these insecurities, or we're conditioned by society to measure ourselves by what type of job we have, how much money we make, what kind of car we drive, where we've been on vacation, who our parents are, maybe what church we go to, all these stupid things that don't matter. And the truth about it is that in every situation that I've been in with a man or a group of men, and we're all posing, arms are crossed, we're all sizing each other up. Whenever one man shows courage and shares something vulnerable about his life, man, it's like a battering ram. It just blows the doors open, and then other guys feel free to share their struggles and the things that they're dealing with, and that begins this journey of unpacking your past and looking at the common reoccurring themes and the pain that are there, because there's a root to that stuff, man. They didn't just pop up, and they didn't just latch on to you for no reason. And until you're willing to be courageous and face those things, right, they're not going to fall off. You're not going to be able to lay them down. You're not going to feel lighter. You're not going to have peace. Obviously, my experience isn't everybody's experience, and I wouldn't expect it to be. But one of my jobs is, with this Mike the Mentor site, is to speak the truth. And I can 100% say that that's the truth in every single situation that I've ever been in with every other man. That when you bring these things to the light, they have no more control, no more power over you. And the difference is night and day. I've seen guys who have come in certain situations. I'm picturing one right now where a guy had some crazy stuff going on in his life. He came to where I was at, and his face, like, he had like a look of death on his face. And this person was in their mid-20s, and they looked like they were 50 plus, or no offense if you're watching this, I'm just saying they look so old, you could just see it on their face, the heaviness, the stress, right? And then because they saw other guys being vulnerable and sharing, and they were willing to talk about what was really there, what they really brought to them or brought with them that night, and we were able to deal with it, it was like this old man disappeared, and there was light and fire behind their eyes. Their face was glowing. I mean, words can't explain it. It's just true, man. You get out there and you're being vulnerable. The lie is to keep that stuff in, right? Don't let anybody know. It's a lie, man. It's a lie from the pit of hell. The next observation is, you can't become a real man without help. There's no such thing as a self-made man. That word was maybe not so much these days, but in years past, that was a big buzzword. I'm a self-made man. Nobody's a self-made man. You're not on an island by yourself for your whole eternity of your life, just learning things for yourself and doing things for yourself. At different points in our life, we all need other people to reach down and give us a hand and show us things, right? Impart wisdom on us. And at other times in our lives, we need to be that person who's reaching down and reaching back and doing the same thing for the next generation, or for a brother that we see that's going through some hard things. All right, the next observation is, for better or worse, we are all significantly shaped by the kind of family life we experienced. There's no getting away from it, right? You've got, in the psychology world, they talk about nurture and they talk about nature, right? And what happened in our families integrate both of those things, right? With the nurture piece, with what we got fed from our parents, like what they told us, what they may have did or didn't do to us, and then what it looked like living in a house. Maybe you came from a crazy house where your parents were alcoholics and they fought all the time, and you were beaten. Or maybe you came from a house where, your parents, they really loved you and they did the best that they knew how, but in them finding out or discovering how to best parent you, they were overbearing and super strict and protective, and that's left some kind of wound in you. We all carry wounds, brother. We all carry wounds. It's just the way of life. But the thing is we can deal with those wounds. Man, we can leave those wounds behind. We can close the gaps on those type of things. So the last thing I want to leave you guys with tonight is just this quote, right? And I totally believe this. I don't believe in a victim mentality. I believe there's always a choice. You may not like the choices you have in front of you, but there's always a choice to be made. And so this quote is, we are products of the past, but we're not prisoners of the past. We're not beholden to what happened in our past. That can, if we make the choice, that can have no weight on our future. We can move forward free from those limiting, debilitating, bad experiences. And that journey, and I don't want to trivialize this for anybody, that journey looks different for each person, right? Like, my brother committed suicide almost 17 years ago now, and I had thought I had dealt with that. And just last year, God revealed some other stuff to me that I still had unforgiveness towards myself over for not being there for him. Man, and I didn't even think I had that in there. But I tell you what, once I dealt with that, it was just like going to another level. Right? It's just cleaning out the junk, cleaning out the closet, like getting rid of that crap, man, that just holds you down and affects every other area of your life. Your health, your spirituality, your family life, your work life. They're all interconnected. They're all intertwined. So if you have a deficiency in one of those areas of your life, or multiple areas of those lives, whether they're known or unknown, they're affecting the totality of your experience here on earth, and the pleasure and the enjoyment that you get from getting to live here on this beautiful planet that we have, and everything that life has to offer you. So I just want to encourage you with these things tonight, brother. I always appreciate you guys tuning in and to listen to me share these things with you. I hope it's been productive this Friday for you. Every Friday we do this. We dig deeper. Next week we're setting the stage right for, let me just peek ahead a little bit, for unpacking some of this stuff. And then we're going to get into some of the particulars about the different kind of wounds that we experience as men as we go through life, and how we should deal with those things. So before I go, if there's anything that I can pray for you about, or just stand in agreement with you, feel free to DM me or to shoot me a text if you got my number. Get in contact with me. I'd love to stand alongside with you and help you out. If you need to talk to somebody, we can arrange that as well. If you find this content valuable, please don't keep it to yourself. Please share it with other guys. Like, we need to change the world, and it's our responsibility as men to make that happen. And the crap that's going on outside of all our homes is a direct reflection of men not taking ownership and responsibility for what we've been given to steward. So I'm challenging you, brother. I'm asking you to help me spread the word, not because I have the answers, because these aren't my answers, right? These are things that I've learned that I'm now trying to share with other people, with other guys, hoping that they can improve their lives. And each one of us can look look ourselves in the mirror and be accountable. That's right, Lee. Yeah, let's change the world. So share this video, like this video, do all that social media stuff that I'm really bad at encouraging people to do. But I appreciate everybody who's watched this, everybody who shared the content, everybody who sent me messages, because this isn't just a Mike the Mentor thing. You guys all play a part. You guys all invest in the vision of us men changing the world and showing the world what real manhood looks like, right? So I love you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow for Shout Out Saturday. God bless.